Right, hi everybody. I'm San Johal, Exec Director of HR at Highways England. Great to see a number of familiar faces in the audience and some that I haven't seen before. So just a quick 5 minutes from me before I hand over to my colleagues on the panel. So just want to touch on the business drivers for investing in diverse talent. I think it's pretty straightforward, the business cases anyhow, which is it makes business sense. I don't think that's in contention in any organization, any sector. We know that a more diverse talent pool supports greater diversity of thinking, and actually, importantly for us, gets us away from groupthink. I think our history and our legacy in particular, coming out of government, having been a civil service agency, gets us to a place where something very different is needed. And we've recognised, particularly in the last 2 years, that actually driving diversity and now moving on to inclusivity gets us to a place where we start to move away from groupthink and we have a better chance of delivering the transformational agenda that we've got. So you're all probably aware of our challenge. We're the client organisation in the strategic road network space. We have incredible business growth on our hands, both us as an organisation, but also what we're trying to lead for the sector in terms of the investment during RIS1 and RIS2. And what comes with that is a real need for transformation organisationally on various different levels. So we want more talented people from a whole range of backgrounds with a range of experiences, and actually key for us is we want them to join us, but we actually want them to stay. And I think quite often when we're talking about the business case for diversity, we focus in on how do we attract the range of people from diverse backgrounds that we'd like to have in our business. We very rarely then move that thinking on quite quickly to then how do we keep them? Because the danger is you put all of your focus on the attraction piece and get to the retention piece too slowly, and you're just constantly in that loop of needing to attract the right people into your business. So I think it's fair to say we are trying really hard to give equal focus to both. So what I mean by that is we want to build a team of inclusive leaders and managers who are able to identify where they need to place their time with a diverse group of people within their teams, how they need to manage and lead them, be aware of their biases, as was referred to in an early presentation, and actually work really hard to make sure those people are engaged, are motivated, have challenging work to do, and actually feel committed to working for Highways England. If you say it really fast, it sounds easy. We're having to put quite a lot of work into that. And there are 2 examples I would just quickly share with you. The first is work we're doing from an enterprise perspective. So the systems, how do we recruit people? How do we make talent and development decisions? And actually, are they with this thinking in mind of us wanting to have a diverse and just a really open and honest conversation with our people? So the first thing we've done, and many of you in the room might be familiar with the work that we've done here, which is we have been open ourselves about the challenges we've had in our recruitment processes. And we've asked an inclusive recruitment specialist, the Clear Company, to come in and take a thorough look at how our recruitment practices are operating and be really open and direct with us about the areas that we need to improve in order to ensure that our recruitment practices are as inclusive as possible. The great thing here is we're able to take those learnings and apply them to the practices around talent development and retention of people when they're in the employee life cycle as well. So we're able to properly leverage that insight. We have led the way. I like to think we have a number of supply chain organizations who took part in that same review and are working with their feedback report in the same way that we are. So it's not perfect, we've got lots to do, but actually we're starting to see some green shoots of our change in attitude towards wanting to drive diverse groups of people to join the business. So one of the ways in which we've seen some of that actually come to fruition is around our early and diverse talent group. So we talk about graduates and apprentices as early talent, and at the moment we have somewhere around 170 graduates and apprentices in our organisation. We have committed to the 5% Club, which is a sort of a movement, if you like, that was led by Balfour Beatty, and many of the Tier 1 organisations will be part of that club as well. And that is a commitment to, at any given time, to have 5% of our workforce made up of early talent, so that's graduates and apprentices. So you'll see in that 5% Club, there are like-minded organisations with an absolute commitment to not only the development of early talent, and we heard this morning about some of the really stretching apprentices targets, but actually this gives us another opportunity to drive our investment in diverse talent. And I'm really pleased to report that actually in the 170 graduates and apprentices that we have a 32% of that group are female, and actually we have I'm just going to make sure I've got the right number, 32% of our BAME, and that actually is better than the percentage that we see across Highways England as a whole, across the 5,000 people that we employ. So actually, what we're looking to do, and some of the speakers later on today representing Highways England, will strengthen the argument and our approach that we're now taking to use opportunities like the investment in apprenticeships and early talent as a lever to drive the diversity makeup of the whole organisation. We've got a long way to go, but actually there are some real green shoots, and there's absolutely a commitment from the top. We have an executive team that is trying to break out of the mould of groupthink. It's not always easy, and it makes for some pretty interesting exec meetings. But we have some interesting stats over the last year around the makeup of our exec team. We've been as high as 50% female. We're at 18% at the moment, but we have been as high as 37% BAME, and we're 11% at the moment, just me. But you know, there's progress and there's more to be done. So I'll just pause there and hand over.
So my name's Vip Gandhi. I'm head of transportation at Jacobs. And business drivers, quite simple really. Successful people make money, right? That's where it is. It is as simple as that. And when you've got a diverse group of people, that's exactly what happens. So the way really that we see it is that you know, we want to really leave a legacy, right? You know, we want to make a difference to people's lives. And this is why we actually need a more inclusive society. So I've got a question. So why do we have a war for talent? It's because, you know, we go through a focus lens in terms of who we recruit. We work through an unconscious bias in terms of, you know, the things that we look for in individuals. And actually what we really need to do is, you know, we need a panoramic lens. We need to make sure that we have, you know, good recruitment, upskill people, and ensure that there's opportunities, right, you know, for all across our industry. 180 STEM graduates. I apologize, there's supposed to be a slide, so, but within the company we have 180 STEM graduates. That's not it. Right, anyway, this is not working, obviously, so I'm going to have to go to plan B. Okay, so what do the STEM graduates do in our organization? We're trying to encourage organizations, you know, to actually have a career in our industry, and the only way you can do that is to get to them early. So, you know, one of the examples that we do that is actually here in Birmingham. We've got somebody called an organization called the Heartlands Academy. And what we do with them is we take their 14 to 16-year-olds and we help mentor them. They come in, work with our staff. They come up with some of the ideas, for the future, what the solutions are going to look like. We have a Dragon's Den type scenario, and they present. And we've been doing that for 2 years. And that's just one of the areas that we actually do on STEM. There are many things that we do locally up and down the country. So, Jacobs. At Jacobs, people are at the heart of our business. We have 54,000 people globally and 6,000 people locally. And what we're trying to do there is that we're trying to give them multiple career paths. Looking at the technical side to be the best technical fellow and really make a difference. Looking at the program and program management areas, and like I said, devising programs to cost and time. And looking at the business leadership skills. And the reason we can do that is because we're actually quite a diverse organization. We run through our 4 lines of business, being aerospace and technology, buildings and infrastructure, industrial and petroleum and chemicals. We are a learning organization, and we do help build careers. 900 graduates are currently going through our apprentice and graduate scheme as we speak. That's a substantial amount of graduate intake year on year. After this session today, I hope that you will stay behind, because what we've got is we're holding an event to celebrate the people who have come through our graduate development plan, which is based on a 2-year plan looking at a couple of core areas that they need to fulfill so that they can build their careers. At the mid and senior level career age, as well as internal learnings for these the people that really make a difference, what we're trying to do is we're using the apprenticeship levy that the government has introduced, right, to sponsor people to do their MSCs and their executive MBAs. We still have an enormous amount to do in not just in Jacobs, but in the industry. And I'm hoping this video is going to work now, because this is where I'd like to finish. So let me just end with a short video, and let's just see what our people think.
When I came to the UK, I came to do an MSc within the Imperial College in Transport and Business Management. And to be honest, I didn't know what Jacobs was. I didn't know what any of the big companies were either. So I attended to a lot of career fairs and presentations, and I particularly remember Jacobs.
I saw Jacobs as more than just a company. It was more of a joining a family. It's such a great close-knit company on a global scale.
I was interested into the core values, how big the company is, how global it is, and all the options that they claim they could offer. But when I saw the atmosphere, how they actually interacted with each other, in which you actually felt there was confidence between them, I felt something different that I didn't think with other companies.
Jacobs is just a great platform to gain a career development and to be part of the bigger picture. There's so many opportunities around the world.
You feel encouraged, you feel that you are actually more than just one element in a chain. It feels like people, if you speak up, they are there to listen to you, and you have the option of making a change and making an impact.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nick James, and I'm Partnerships Director at CITB. As many of you may know, CITB is an industry body covering England, Scotland, and Wales. And we are currently going through our process of renewal in terms of our new levy order. Some of you may have been involved in that and are familiar with the process by which CITB is funded. So we are funded by industry through the industry levy, and that very much drives our behaviour and our activities in terms of meeting industry's current and future skills needs. We do that in a few critical ways. 3 fundamental areas of activity. The first is around careers, making sure that the pipeline of people wanting to join the construction sector and be successful and develop careers in the construction sector is working as effectively as it can be. And I think I'll come on to an example of that in a moment in terms of how that supports the whole diversity agenda. The second piece of our work, as well as careers, is standards and qualifications. We are the arbiter, I suppose, and controller of the standards that exist for training and development across all aspects of the construction sector, including highways. And finally, our fundamental area is training and development. So we use industry levy, the funding that we get from industry and from other sources, to support the development of skills across the construction sector. All shapes and sizes of businesses, a whole range of different specialities within the construction sector. We tend to talk quite glibly about the construction sector, and appreciating I'm here at a particular event that represents a part of that sector, and there are many other elements of the sector as a whole as well, so it's not a homogeneous sector. I suppose from our point of view as CITB, although we work with many thousands of employers, and we have about 70,000 businesses registered with us, our investment is both in those individual employers, but also in the skills for the sector as a whole. And that's where perhaps the crunch dilemma is. Are we investing in the current, or in some cases historical skills needs, or should we be more focused as industry and on behalf of industry on future skills needs? And that means the use of different technologies, the use of different working methods, again, some of which will help to support the sector to become more diverse in terms of its workforce. I want to give you a couple of examples of the work that we do, not in terms of sort of self-congratulation or self-promotion necessarily, but really to give some idea of how we might work together in partnership as agencies, but with employers that we represent, to help develop and promote the diversity agenda. The first of those is around our Go Construct website. And this is where I must refer to my notes to make sure I get the terms right. I mentioned that one of our 3 key areas of work is around careers, and I'm sure all of you in this room have a different bias or perspective on how careers should operate, and we've all got an experience that says the system doesn't necessarily attract the kind of people we want. So we have made a substantial investment on behalf of industry in a careers platform called Go Construct. And Andrew gave you some, for those of you who were here earlier, gave you some homework, reading of some university paper, I think it was, from the Netherlands. If I can give you some homework, it's to have a look at the Go Construct website, which I hope you'll find informative. And if you think there are ways in which we can improve that, then please do let us know. But what we're trying to do there is demonstrate to as many people as we possibly can the diverse range of opportunities and careers that exist across the construction sector. And by doing that, providing examples, case studies, role models of people from all parts of our community in terms of their success within the sector. The second example I'd like to give you is around our National Skills Academy program. And for those of you who want to know more on this, on a more sort of technical basis perhaps, or would like to be part of the program, we are exhibiting here today at stand G03. And we have pens, so if you need a pen, please come and visit us. The Skills Academy program has run for a number of years now, and again, referring to my notes just to make sure I get the facts properly represented. This is where CITB is working in collaboration with employers, contractors, and clients to drive skills across infrastructure projects. So at this point in time, and there's been a history to this, but at this point in time, we're supporting over 2,500 apprentices and creating over 4,000 jobs through local engagement. The typical model here for a contractor or a client is that CITB will work with that contractor or client to help them meet any of their local Section 106 or similar commitments. We're doing this very well at the moment on the A14, working with Highways England and Costain over in Cambridgeshire. So real examples of how we can help employers to have the local impact, the diverse recruitment, and the benefits to the community of the huge investments that we're all making. And I think there's a real sort of message there, isn't there, in the sense that we often agonize when we're looking at these big build projects and we have these shiny new developments and contracts to deliver, bills to pay and so on. And the irony often is, and the challenge I think to all of us in the sector often is, that those wonderful new developments are just cheek by cheek with some of the most deprived parts of our country and communities. So the Skills Academy program does give individual contractors and clients support to help with local recruitment, to help with local skills development, albeit, yes, okay, to help meet some of the local targets that you'll have with local authorities and so forth. But also, I think, to actually have that local impact and to demonstrate real examples of how construction can be a diverse sector and has a huge diverse range of opportunities to offer all sections of our community. I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening. I don't want to steal any of the panel's thunder, and I do absolutely want to make sure that Duncan gets his moment as well. So thank you very much for listening, everyone.
Anyway, we're going to have a panel debate, so this presentation is more about provoking some ideas rather than, say, a specialist presentation on the subject matter. So the panel debate is about the business drivers for investing in skills, talent, and diversity. So I'd like to start off by saying they're not just business drivers. This is an absolute business imperative. And the reason for that, it's not just a business imperative for the businesses that are attending this event, it is an imperative for UK PLC as a whole. Why? Because addressing these issues means you drive shareholder value, you create far better customer delight, you improve performance, you run a far more sustainable business with far more sustainable outcomes. It helps with business continuity. It drives growth in a business. It makes businesses far more relevant for the society they serve. And it underpins future prosperity. It's important that we value difference in our teams. Our aim is to have an inclusive workforce truly representative of society. So, why should we do this? Well, fundamentally, as I've said earlier, it drives better performance. And it also, on the journey, creates a competitive differentiation for those businesses that embed it the quickest. So, just a couple of things then, what Costain's doing about it. I won't go through them all individually that's on the slide, but fundamentally it's embracing those things that you know are just the right thing to do. So some examples would be embracing the religious festival policy, embracing the LGBT agenda, the BAME agenda, having flexible working policies, having mentoring programs, having, it was mentioned earlier in one of the presentations, a simple way, blind CVs. All of those things, in addition to the other statistics you see on the slide, are things that we do to demonstrate and do something about it. Interestingly as well, on the journey that we've been, we recognized fairly early on there are organizations out there that are fantastic at this already. Do not be afraid of trying to invent the wheel yourselves. There's a couple of examples up on the slide there of organizations that are fantastic at this, and you would do yourselves all a power of good to actually work with them. For instance, things like Prince's Trust, Job Centre Plus, the Social Mobility Foundation, CTP, Clean Sheet, Go to Prisons. And also, what you learn when you interface with these sort of organizations, you become far better at things like unconscious bias training. Roll that out to your staff. Go and speak to the universities. Go and speak to the armed forces that are very, very advanced in dealing with this subject matter. And you'll learn to do things like targeted shortlisting, implementing passport hires, tapping into diversityjobs.co in terms of a recruitment toolkit, using returnships, and also some what they call reverse mentoring. The important message I'd like to leave you with in terms of maybe stimulate something in the panel debate is no organization can do this on their own. This is a journey we all have to go on together because people, that resource pool moves across businesses, and we all need to embrace this agenda and go on the journey together, including our supply chain, our clients, our peer groups, and other organizations we need to interface with. And there's a very good reason why we should embrace this agenda, because I've heard an awful lot about a skills crisis. I can assure you that working together on this agenda, we won't have a skills crisis. We'll have a skills challenge, but we'll meet it by actually implementing the good practice that you've heard on several talks this morning and amongst my fellow panelists and in some of the things that I've shared with you in this presentation. But a reminder, we're not doing this because we just think it's the right thing to do, we want to look good. This is a fundamental business imperative. And I'll remind you there are the points I made earlier about why this is not only good for business, this is good for UK PLC as a whole.